everybody, my name is Mars. You can call me MG if you'd like, and if you are watching this video on the day that it's going out, today is my 27th birthday. Woo! That means it is time for another update on my 30 by 30 list. If you don't know what I'm talking about, a few years ago, I made a list of 30 books that I wanted to read by the time I turned 30. This is the halfway point. That was 3 years ago. My 30th birthday is 3 years from now, so we should be halfway through this list, and we will figure out at the end if we are. I have 4 things to talk to you about this time around, so we should just get right into it. So the first thing I have to talk to you about is Ajin Demi-Human. This is a manga series, and I read this back in March. I binged the whole thing, and it was good, but it wasn't great. I feel like it didn't really live up to the expectations I had based on the premise. The premise is that there are these beings called demi-humans that seem just like regular humans, except they are immortal. And you don't know if you're a demi-human until you have a near-death experience and survive. And they are kind of like hunted by the government because the government wants to do like testing on them and all of this stuff. It's quite interesting, but it wasn't executed the way I kind of expected it to be. I found the main character to be supremely annoying throughout the entire series. He didn't really have a lot of growth, but there were a lot of really interesting side characters that I enjoyed that kind of like balanced it out, I guess. Overall, I gave all of the volumes of this either a 6 or a 7, so like I still enjoyed it, I just didn't really love it, and I don't think this is one that I'm going to return to in the future. Next up, in May, I read Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. I adored this book. Literally everything about it is perfection. I gave this a 10 out of 10. It was my favorite read of the month, and it was just absolutely fabulous. I really appreciate how Seanan McGuire was able to fit so much story and character development into so small of a book, because this is a novella. It's, I think, less than 200 pages or just about 200 pages, and still it was so well paced. The character, like all of them, the characters developed and changed over the course of the story. It was such a compelling mystery involved. Everything about this book was absolutely fantastic, and I have continued on with this series. I know it's not really my strong suit to continue on with series, but I loved this book so much that I had to read more. This is a very long series of companion novels. They all involve this school for wayward children. They are basically children who have fallen into portal worlds and have since come back to the regular world and aren't really adjusting very well. So the books, follow different characters each time, but there's like a lot of overlap, and I just am so obsessed with everyone. I think I've read 4 of them by this point in time, and I've just loved every single one, and I cannot wait to read even more. Okay, technically, this next book is the one I should have talked about first because I read it first out of these 4 reads. I read it back in February, but I forgot that I read it so early in the year. But that book is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I enjoyed this book, but I wasn't obsessed with it. I still had a really good time, and I think it is a very interesting and action-packed fantasy story, and it does have a war involved, hence the Poppy War, and I did really like that aspect because with a war you get both the action and the politics, and I thought that they were melded together very well. I read this book as part of my R.F. Kuang author taste test vlog, so you can check that out if you are interested, and this was kind of like the middle of the road of the 3 books that I read for that vlog. I liked it more than Yellowface, but I didn't like it quite as much as Babel. I have also, since that time, read Catabasis, which is R.F. Kuang's most recent release, and I think Catabasis might be my favorite of R.F. Kuang's books. I have not continued on with the Poppy War series yet, but I do want to finish it out. It is a trilogy, and I am excited to see where it goes. And then the fourth and final book I have to update you about for this time around is Inferno by Dan Brown. I finally have read this dang book. It had been on my physical TBR for 9.5 years. I refused to let it get there to the decade point. I'm like, I am reading this and it has to happen now. So I did read it, and I did vlog the experience if you are curious to see a little bit more of a play-by-play, but spoiler alert for that vlog, I did not like this book. I gave it a 3 out of 10. It's definitely not the worst thing that I've ever read, but it also just wasn't very good. I have done a little bit of research and have since found out that this is probably Dan Brown's least popular novel from what I could tell, so kind of sucks that it's the one that I picked up, but I am glad that I finally got to it, and I have since put it in a little free library so that hopefully someone else out there with a different taste in reading than I have will enjoy it. So there we have my 27th birthday update. Now, if you remember, I said this was the midpoint of this whole challenge, so I should be at 50%, which means I should have read 15 entries on this list of 30 items by this point, and I have read 16! So I'm just a smidge ahead. I am 53% of the way through these reads, so I am very relieved that that is the case. It's a very loud car going by, very rude of them. But yeah, I am going to try and be better about this because I feel like I was so good that first year, and then these past 2 years of updates I've read not a ton, so I need to keep up that average of reading 6 per year. Like this year I only read 4. I think the previous year I only read 3, so I do need to be a little bit more intentional about reading these books. So here's hoping that by this time next year I will have a slightly longer video update for you guys. Yeah, this was a nice short little update. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.